Were we to consider life in the way that we might reflect on how it's worked out for us, or the ways in which it seems to have automatically but spontaneously taken its own direction, and we have been the player in the role that route has taken us. One of the ways in which we might make sense of our world and our worldview is to look at the roles that we've been ascribed by life, or that we've ascribed ourselves. We were conditioned, educated, formulated, guided, governed, driven, offered opportunities that saw our lives take a particular direction, several directions, the opposite direction to that which we thought we'd travel in. As human beings, we have spent much of our time doing. We reflect on life and we see that we have become a doctor, a dentist, a dour depressionist, a drug addict, a doer, a dancer. We've been on duty, anything like that. We have also been a sister or a brother, a wife, a husband, a friend, a lover. We have worked for minimum wage. We have worked for the maximum wage we're able to, given our educational capacity and the opportunities that life has given us freely. We have been a church member. We have been an ardent, radical atheist. We have been a feminist. We have been a dysfunctionalist. We have been a drug addict, a prostitute, an alcoholic. We have had complicated relationships to food, and we have been a dancer, and we have been an artist. Just so many diverse and wonderful things. We have been a backpacker. We have been a traveller. We have been a Weight Watcher. We have been a wonder. We have been a worry to many others. In this way, we are often asked, what is our name? We say, my name's Will, my name's Wilhelmina, my name's Wendy, my name is Wayne. Then, frequently, we might be asked, and what do you do? It's a really interesting question. What do you do? Many of us immediately turn to our careers, our professions, or our jobs to describe what we do. And this is the point here. Am I defined by my work life? Do I define myself by a work life? Do we measure each other's by our work life? If I say to people, I'm a doctor, I'm a GP, I'm a surgeon, I'm a consultant, there's somewhat of an impressed response to that. Were we to describe ourselves as some of us do, I'm a drug addict, because we're still in the suffering of that, or we've come to terms with that role sufficiently, or we've over-identified ourselves with that role so sufficiently that we're not even worried anymore. It's so obvious by the nature of how we're presenting to others, or how others are perceiving us, that there's little point in trying to say that we too are a doctor when we are a drug addict, or maybe we're both. Quite interesting turn of events there. But regardless, in all of this, we describe ourselves by the roles that life has assigned us, or we've assigned ourselves. This very same conditioning and this schooling and this familial lineage and this upbringing and the morality of our age and any religious or spiritual beliefs or the absence thereof govern the way in which we are schooled, that we qualify along the lines of our culture to leave school with certain qualifications that enable us to undertake certain roles with which we might be trusted, responsibly trusted and irresponsibly trusted in some cases, as it turns out. And we gain experiences and gather experiences and covet experiences and collect experience in a world in which we all attempt to work together and sometimes work against each other in order to find happiness, peace, meaning, purpose, and definition. The ways in which we see ourselves and project ourselves to others, the ways in which we utilize social media to project a perfected sense of who we are and the ways in which life frequently disappoints, hurts and breaks us and enables us to know suffering, and for some of us sometimes elongated suffering, or the ways in which we carry our past with us as trauma and difficult events, or the ways in which we use past events and traumatic events to ascribe labels to us. I was abused. I grew up in an alcoholic household. My mother died. My father died. The ways in which we use these labels as trump cards in order to attain meaning, definition and purpose in life, or the ways in which we self-seek using these labels in order to justify our errant behaviour now, or the unfinished business that we carry with us as we project time. We bring time with us and the accumulated experiences of seasons of our lives, of roles that we went through: a victim of sexual assault, a victim of adult alcoholism as a child, a victim of the loss of a parent, the ways in which we use the victim label in order to gain and get out of life, and we become these labels that we are given. Perhaps we have mental health diagnoses that give us labels. Perhaps mental health labels set us free because they finally explain to us why it is the way that I respond in the way that I do. In this way, we give meaning to life. All meaning is inferred. Meaning is inherently inferred to the personality that I take myself to be, to the roles that life has ascribed, to the roles that I've assigned myself. And we offer meaning into those. Sometimes we offer deep and enduring meaning. Sometimes we take meaning from those roles that we hate. We just hate being who we are. But in the ways in which we hate who we are, we take who we are to be the events that we went through, or the roles that we've been assigned as a result of that. None of us would like to be a victim, though many of us do reap the rewards of having a victim mentality and using that in order to obtain from others. We manipulate and so on. This is all just the way it is when we are over-identified with our sense of self. Perhaps we are trying to create a new sense of self, or the best version of ourselves we've ever been, and in so doing we once more neatly obscure what we are as a human being by trying to create another version of ourselves who wears different clothes, who has a new way of looking at life, who is now a student, or who is now a model citizen, or who is now in education, or who is now doing a different role, or is in a different relationship, or is partnering in a different way, or is a new ascribed gender. And many of the other wonderful ways in which our world consciousness is now modulating and renavigating itself, out of which rises a new sense of projecting our hurt into minority groups and other cultures and other smaller tribes, as we try and evidence the difficulties that we're having with the ways in which the model world is changing and becoming a new creation. It's never not doing that. That's always been the case. But as significant change seems to manifest in the world, there is always a pull to conserve and to constrict and to maintain the status quo for those that will be losing if things changes. All of these ways describe the roles that we inhabit, and the ways in which we find meaning in those roles, and the ways in which we project our unfinished business, or the ways in which we transmit our pain out into a world in order to feel like we're being seen. Hello, nice to see you. Hello, nice to be seen. Both have value. In this, may we consider some of these ways in which we find meaning, and we can move from defining ourselves by the things that we do and explore for ourselves how we are being, who we are being, the nature of being, and arrive at that place of simply being.